Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that there are affiliate links and referral links in the description below, which means I may get compensation when you use those links. But there's actually a cool benefit to you as well, as you can get some extra income by using those links as opposed to going directly through the services themselves. Now, what we're talking about here is Gusto, and we're looking at 5 reasons why you may not want to use the service. And what you can see on the screen right here is I'm purposely starting on this page here because this is my plan and billing. You can see I'm an actual customer since January 26th of 2021. So this review is based on coming up on 4 years of experience of using this tool. A lot of reviews you watch online, they just read stuff off the website, they regurgitate it, they've never used the tool. This is based on my experience. And the other reason that I have this page pulled up, this brings up our first thing that you want to consider when going with Gusto. Sometimes it can be a little complicated when you're looking at a pricing page, all right? They do split it up into 3 tiers. And you'll see that I'm in this mid-tier here, the Plus package, which is really $80 a month. We'll ignore these discounts, which again, you'll get as well, but they go away after a few months. The reason I ended up upgrading to this Plus package is if you go down to the bottom, they have add-ons and the Plus plan, and that is priority support and HR resources. I was having an issue close to the end of year last year where I needed to do a benefit adjustment. So what it was I had a pre-tax 401k contribution, and it was showing up as a post-tax on my payroll. Now, I ended up upgrading my package because I wasn't getting anywhere with support on this. And you can see here, December 12th is when I emailed them about this issue. But I found it kind of disappointing that I paid for this extra thing, and it took until December 15th, 3 days later. Just understand, if you pay for the priority support, if you do things at year end, it's going to be delayed, all right? Because everybody's trying to do things at year end. My advice to you here is that if you have things that are popping up in your business and you know they're going to come up, do them earlier, because Gusto, just like your CPA has a busy season, Gusto has a busy season. And the earlier you can do things and take care of them, the easier it's going to be for you to get things turned around quickly. But that's just my first tip here. I'm actually going to change my plan and downgrade into the lower package right now because it really wasn't worth it for me to get that priority support because it still took 3 days, and I'm just going to continue on with the basic package. All right, reason number 2 why you may not want to consider Gusto for your payroll services and HR. Now, when it comes to modern work, right, there's going to be more and more things that are transitioning into contractors. Well, we're going to go a step beyond that. We're going to be talking about international payroll. If you have a contractor who's out of the country, but they're truly a contractor, they're not a full-time employee, you can pay them as a contractor. But depending on the country that they're in, and it has to do with the culture and then also some of the benefits that are awarded to them if they're full-time employees, some of these contractors may want full-time employment. Now, Gusto does offer this service. It's called Gusto Global, and they have an employer of record, oftentimes called an EOR service. And that is something that you're going to have to pay for. And you see that you can save now. It's $6.99, but it's $5.99 per month if you do this through the end of the year. So it looks cool because you're getting $100 off. It is expensive to set these up in a country, but a lot of times the benefits is that you get better retention with these employees. Now, my issue with that right here is that this is actually handled through remote.com. So that $100 of savings a month is really just bringing you down to the actual price of remote.com, which is kind of interesting because remote.com is a competitor of Gusto, but Gusto is partnering with them to fulfill on global payroll. So if you're somebody who's interested in having full-time employees that are in other countries, my recommendation would not even be to go with remote, but I would check out a service called deal.com. I have multiple friends who use this service and swear by it. And one of the nice benefits here is this starts at $4.99 a month. So again, if you're considering global payroll, and then again, this is not paying contractors, but having full-time employees in other countries, I would highly recommend deal.com. You'll find a link for it in the description below. Again, it is an affiliate link, but that'll save you $100 a month, potentially $200 a month if Gusto ends up increasing their pricing. This next one isn't as big of a deal, but it's something I wanted to make you aware of. Now, with Gusto, they've added a lot of different tools and features to their platform over time. And this one right here is for hiring tools. Now, as you're going down, you can see how it works. Basically, your Gusto dashboard acts as your command center when hiring people. But I think it's really important when you're doing the recruiting process to look at what's not included over here. And it says automatic syndication to job boards like Indeed. That's super important because Indeed is one of the largest job boards in the world. So just be aware if you are going to use Gusto for recruiting, that yes, it'll go to things like Google Job Search, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and other job boards, but it will leave out ones such as Indeed. So not a reason to not use Gusto, but just, again, be aware that you may end up posting in other places that Gusto doesn't syndicate with the job boards. All right, next issue I've run into here, and you may have noticed on my screen that I have Gusto in the upper left-hand corner and I have Bench next to it. So what Bench is that's an online bookkeeping service, and they integrate together. And the reason that I mention this is that when you get Gusto, they will push different services towards you. And those are ones that they have some sort of partnership affiliate agreement with. One of those is going to be Bench as of making this video. Other ones is like 1-800-ACCOUNTANT, things like that. I did not actually get Bench because Gusto pushed them on me. I did that on my own, but I'm actually having quite the issue with Bench as of making this video. So right now, if I look at the date, it's June 18th. I just received my final year-end books for last year in mid-June. That's because Bench did something with the way that they operate their business that slowed everything down. So this is just something more of a cautionary tale. Just know that when they're presenting things that you can partner with, there's two different types of partnerships. There's ones where they get an actual commission for referring that partner. But if you're like me, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to go to the app directory and I'm going to look for QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is not a service that they're going to recommend to you because they're actually a competitor, because QuickBooks has QuickBooks Payroll. But you can still integrate QuickBooks Online for your bookkeeping and be able to integrate that right into the Gusto platform. Now, you may be wondering, like, why not just use QuickBooks for everything? My experience is that I started out with QuickBooks Payroll, and I found the onboarding process to be really lacking, and I ended up having issues and having to go back with the state to correct things, where Gusto's onboarding process is so much better than QuickBooks, and that's why I recommend Gusto over QuickBooks Payroll. But just know that you can still integrate with QuickBooks if you decide to use them for your bookkeeping services. Another issue that's, again, smaller but worth noting is if you're looking to pay international contractors through Gusto, just know that the fee is going to be higher. So I have one international contractor that I was looking to create this for. What's up, Mari?
What up, Eric?
And if I look to create this payment, let's say I put this in for $1,000. What you see here is that they actually received $985. So there is a $15 charge just for sending this across. But then when you look here, there's also the recipient bank fee as well. So what I have found is if you're paying international contractors, PayPal is a little bit cheaper than Gusto, but then if you go into a service like wise.com, it gets even cheaper from there. So it's just up to you. But for me, if I'm going to pay that international contractor, I want them to get as big a piece of the pie as they can and not be getting hit with different fees, because there may be another $20 bank account fee on their end as well. So just consider that when you're paying international contractors. Before we get to our last issue that I've come across, I do want to make mention that there is a referral link for Gusto in the description below. And with that, when you use that link, you can get anywhere from, like, depending on the promotions they're running, I think it's like $100 to $600 of a Visa debit card sent to you for using my referral link. I also get a compensation for that, but it's pretty cool because if you go directly through Gusto, same pricing, but you won't get that Visa debit card. And I also know that I'm kind of talking about all the negatives of Gusto, but there's a reason that I've been a customer of theirs for almost 4 years. I really actually like the service. It's just with any service, there's going to be little things that you can kind of nitpick here and there. Truly, the only reason why I would say not to go with Gusto would, again, be if you're looking to hire full-time international employees. That's where I'd end up going with a service like Deal.com. Now, for the last issue I see here, this is really being a little bit nitpicking, but I'm going to show you a tool that you may have never heard of that's really cool, and trust me, it's going to come in handy at some point for you. Now, if you scroll down here on their pricing for hiring top talent, I was interested in this. I was like, amount businesses save each month on HR administration after switching to Gusto is $470. But as always, you need to read the fine print. And I thought this was interesting because this was based on Gusto's prior pricing plans, which are no longer available to new customers as of July 11th, 2022. And to me, that's kind of like misleading to have this big print that you're going to save $470 and you'd be like, no, that was actually based on pricing from several years ago. So the tip here that I have for you, if you've never heard of this, there's a website called the Wayback Machine. It's archive.org. And what you can do is you can put in a page of a specific website and they take snapshots of that page so that you can go back in time and then see how things may vary. So why don't we take a look at this snapshot from January 18th, 2021 at 1:22 in the morning. So this will open up what the pricing page on Gusto used to look like going back to 2021. So you can see that it actually looks quite a bit different. And they had a concierge package, a complete core and basic. And then now when you take a look at this, it looks very, very different. You have simple plus premium, and you notice that the base packages are 40, 80, and then exclusive. All right, so they've changed things around, but what you'll notice is that what they're offering in these different packages has expanded quite a bit. I can say from firsthand experience that Gusto continues to improve the product. They add new products and features in all the time with it, but do understand that in the last few years, the core package, which is the closest thing to what you see here on the plus package, is now $80 a month, and a few years ago was $39 a month. They also increased the cost per person. So you pay $6 a month per person, and then now you're looking at this being $12 a month per person. So they have increased the pricing, but from my experience though, it's still very much in line with the cost of other different services. Now I want to talk about reasons why I like Gusto. Number one is they have been very reliable in filing my tax documents. So you'll see these 941 forms. What that is that's going to the IRS. That's paying the employer side of things like Social Security and unemployment. And then Form 940, what that is, I believe, is that doesn't go out quarterly. That's more of a yearly form that's being filed on your behalf. But this is something that's going to be super important for you, is that especially if you're just starting a business, because a lot of people using Gusto, it's mostly geared towards people with like 1 to 10 employees. You report a notice. So what you do is search for an agency. So maybe it's the IRS, or maybe it's, I'm in Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. All right. Then what you do is select what this form is. So the cool thing is if you get a form from the state, and this has happened to me where I'm like, I don't even know what this is, you can go in here and upload the form, and then their support will let you know exactly what you need to do. A lot of times for me, what that's been is UI, unemployment insurance. At least in New York State, they have changed what the actual calculation is of how much I need to pay for that. The reason for that in many states is that there was an unemployment insurance bucket for people within the state. And then when COVID happened, that bucket got depleted. So what they did is they increased that amount that employers had to pay so that they could fill that bucket back up so they have enough funds for unemployment. So things like that, when you get those random tax notices, just go into this section and report a notice. The other thing that's really nice is the app directory. What this allows you to do is just sync information across different things. If you're going to end up using QuickBooks for your accounting, what it'll do is it'll send your payroll information to QuickBooks so that that's automatically added into that system. So there are a lot of cool different connected apps that you can use in here. And lastly, what I want to do is just quickly talk about when you're getting set up with Gusto. Off of the bat, most people, what's going to happen is once you get set up, you will get a phone call. And if you're like me, you're like, don't call me. Trust me, this is one phone call you want to take. They'll actually walk you through. There'll be a guided list on the left-hand side of your different steps that you need to take. And somebody will be on the phone and they can walk you through every single step. The onboarding is terrific. And then from there, the way that this works is you have people. This is kind of like the filing cabinet. This is where everything gets organized, right? So you have your people on your team, and when you add a team member, then you can get into things like payroll and HR benefits for that team member. So you'll start by adding team members, and then on each team member, let's say if I click on mine right here, you'll see at the very top here, this is how it works. There's job and pay, personal, performance, time off, apps, documents, benefits, etc. This is where you can address everything on the individual level. And then if you need to adjust a pay, if you need to run an off-cycle payroll, all these things can be done from right here. Last thing I wanted to talk about is the referral link that I have for Gusto in the description below. That's the one that I mentioned that you can get either $100 or up to $600 depending on what promotions they're running at that time, that it'll come in the form of a Visa debit card. So the way that works is that Visa debit card will be emailed to you. You just have to activate it. And what I typically do is you can use it. You can actually just create funds, credits in your Amazon account, or you can do like a one-time payment if you have a larger purchase, and you can just use it just like a credit card online. Just know though that Visa debit card that you'll get usually expires by the end of the year. So just don't lose track of that. So if it was me, I would immediately just go to Amazon. I would take that $200, $100, whatever ends up being for you, and just dump that right into your Amazon credits because those don't expire at all. So again, thank you for using my links in the description below. And then what we have here on the screen is an ultimate payroll review. So we're comparing all the different payroll service providers out there, including Gusto, so you can understand what the difference is. And that'll matter to you, especially if you decide to pay people weekly as opposed to monthly when it comes to paying your payroll. All right, I'll catch you on that next video.